Hello there. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the Ineffableelse. If you would like to support the channel, please subscribe. Please maybe consider supporting me for a couple of pounds, euros, dollars on Patreon. Helps me continue making this free content. Please like and comment and share this video around. Watch the other ones in the series and see how you relate to them. This one is about Libra. Venus in Libra. This is the home of Venus. It feels very content here. This is a natural placement for Venus alongside when it is in Taurus, but it doesn't have exactly the same flavor as Taurus. Taurus being this very smooth place for Venus and kind of a self-protective one, self-sustaining. When Venus is in Libra, this can actually sometimes be a hard thing to live up to. This can be a signification which holds a lot of tension and, of course, perfectionism. And as I've been saying with the Virgo video, is that this isn't about being a perfectionist, because Venus is perfect. It's a hard thing to comprehend that perfection exists, but it's perfect because it goes with the flow. It really doesn't fight. It holds its head up high. It isn't too small and meek and mild, and it also doesn't take up more space than it's required. It is this wonderful harmony of the masculine and feminine you have within yourself. And it's very difficult to look at Venus without also considering Mars, which is this active principle, because Venus is much more receptive, it's feminine, and it goes inward. Libra is masculine air, and it's about balance, and it's about non-duality, and it's judgment, and it is not going to make you so popular in this world to be truly Venusian. We have a great taste for the Venus quality of symmetrical faces and perfect makeup and perfect hair and the newest and the shiniest thing, and these things, they wear down. I'm looking at my once new shiny smartphone that would once have made people gasp at the technological advances, and now with its cracked screen and its outdated aspect, it's no longer Venusian. This is the issue with man-made things. You know, trees, they never go out of fashion. Now we have Venus entering Scorpio, and this is about depth of the archetype. Anything in Scorpio is deepening, and Libra can sometimes keep things on that nicey level. This is something to think about if you are a lawyer, is diplomacy. If you are an ambassador, how to use language in a way that is both not going to trigger unnecessary war, but that is also truthful and for the highest benefit of all. Now, this is very easy for Venus to experience and to feel in this way when it is not living in this world of duality and concepts, and the natural mechanism which Venus would use is the human conscience. So that means when you do something bad, you need no external authority to come and put you in prison for what you've done. You feel it. It's awful. You want to do all you can to right the wrong, and you have a very physical and internal emotional response to this act, which is out of harmony with love. But in the world we live in, many times you might do something that's unloving, and then you get praised for it, and it's actually held up and celebrated. Or perhaps you do something and it is in line with love, but the strategy to get there, you had to do things which were unloving, and we don't yet seem to have the consciousness to pull this apart and see things and be able to. It's very irritating in companies and in school and in arguments, in discussions where one person has to be right and one person has to be wrong, a winner and a loser, instead of saying, these are all of the elements and the ingredients that people are bringing to the table, and these are the ones we want to take and these are the ones we want to lose. And this is naturally happening. If we really listen to our conscience, we wouldn't hurt other people. We wouldn't allow other people to hurt us. And we would be in this, everyone would be in a bubble. So even if we did do something accidentally which was out of harmony with love, it wouldn't necessarily even have an effect on another person, because they've got such a strong sense of who they are and of love and of, this is the idealized fantasy world which exists just below the surface of all of our concepts and all of ideas, which have us running for the hills or running headlong into battle. And with this Libra Venus, we sometimes look at our behavior and say, well, how did I get to that stage? How did I do that? This isn't lining up with my principles and my values. I have such high standards and I'm falling short. And this is the guilt principle that comes in. And the sad fact with guilt is it is an avoidance tactic. Because if I feel guilty, then I'll probably do it again. Because I'm not really dealing with it. I'm not willing to feel what the conscience has there for me, which is, say for example, I'm eating huge cream cake and I eat it in like 5 minutes. And my body is like, yeah, this is how you're going to feel now. This is pain. And then the mind comes in and says, we don't want to feel that pain. And the brain actually releases dopamine, and that's why many times very, very spicy food, very, very big mixtures of food, or dense or confusing food for the body releases dopamine, and it feels great in the mind. It's actually just a chemical being released, and a lot of the time it's to try and protect us from the toxic reaction happening within our stomach. Wow. That's a sad thing to realize, something I thought was so delectable is actually just me trying to protect myself. And this is the beginning, and one variation of the self-protection mechanism that we have in place. And this is in terms of physically with that situation. And now instead of me feeling the pain and saying, good Lord, I don't want to do that again, and then I'm not going to be attracted to the same cake. It's just going to be unappealing for me, because I'll have that very, 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 very clear memory. But instead, not only has there been this dopamine release, there's also then been some kind of guilt, which is then actually a layer on top, which I feel terrible. I feel terrible about this. You don't feel terrible. You just tell yourself you feel terrible. You don't actually feel. It's like the mind has made a decision. This is how we feel. The same goes for worry. I'm so worried about you. I'm so worried. I'm really worried. I'm just worried. I'm worrying all the time. I can't stop thinking. Exactly. I can't stop thinking. I'm not going deeper down into the body and thinking and feeling, wow, I have an attachment to this person, and wow, I have all this fear of them dying. I have all this fear of them being lost. And actually, I have an investment in this child, family member, close partner. I have all of this stuff invested in these people. It's not just worry I'm feeling possessive, and I'm feeling like I want to control everything. These are the actual feelings. No, worry. It's just a mental label, like guilt, worry, pain. I'm feeling pain. I'm suffering. You're not suffering in pain. There was pain that wanted to be experienced, and then we decided to suppress and resist and suppress and resist. Now that's suffering. Holding back on all of that thing and not letting it out. And now when that's coming back to Venus, which is this natural, beautiful, harmonious place where all things are permitted, and just because Venus is perfect, it doesn't mean that there are not, if Venus is love, well, is it not loving that when you put your hand in a fire, ow, that freaking burns, that hurts? That's love. It's, oh my word, now my hand is intact. I've not lost these wonderful Venusian digits of mine. That's a Venusian behavior, and it seems like it's a terrifying and painful experience, bringing you hell, but these are qualities in nature, and not all qualities mix perfectly well together for all people. There are beneficial aspects to hurricanes. There are beneficial aspects to flooding. Flooding many times happenings on floodplains, and it's humans that have then built houses on floodplains and then say, oh, this is God defying us, or rather, there's been terrible flooding in a place where all the trees have been torn down. So that's not Venusian. Venus would be there, providing all these trees with all these root systems and a really lovely, healthy aquifer to absorb all of this stuff. But we've been thinking our way into annihilation. This is about good judgment, and we're not coming in as new fresh Venuses. We're coming in with our Venus placement into a world where Venus has been distorted and lost to a great degree, and this is a case of getting it back through discernment and through observation and through especially not being distracted with the superficial things which please other people. There's a wonderful thing which is, why waste your time trying to please a load of people who don't even know who they are? You know, who are you trying to please? Many times you may be pleasing them for reasons that you don't even understand, because they are in their own world, their own bubble. And in the same way that I say there could be a world where we go around and we are in a bubble of love, and it's a genuine bubble of love. It's a genuine aura of, I'm accepted and I'm allowed to be here. At the moment, we're walking around with our heads in a bubble of concepts. I've been told I'm this, I've been told I'm that, I think I'm this, and I remind myself of this person. All these concepts swimming around, many of the time they contradict one another, which is its own battle, and then we bump heads with each other, and how on earth are we supposed to connect with that happening? And Libra is all about relationships, which is the next stage after you work through the little steps towards understanding Venus through this lens, which is, how do we make our relationship richer? It comes back to, do I know myself? Because only when I know myself and the other person knows themselves, then we're going to connect. So we can't hope to just meet and we know ourselves. So in what ways can we help each other see ourselves? Well, humble, have humility and be open to what the other person brings to you, and communicate, please speak, and speak without reaction, speak without contraction, and breathe. I noticed the other day during a reaction there was this desire to let the breath just leave me, please leave me, kick it out, instead of saying, this is a horrendous emotion, let me breathe it in and let me take that emotion all the way down through my system, through all the layers of my building body, all the floors. Because up here it's like, yeah, no, I resonate with that as a a horrible self-image of myself, and let me take it down to the throat, and does it line up in all these places? And oh, actually, the further I take it down, the deeper within myself, the less important it is. And also, the more my body has been oxygenated, and the more I'm interacting with a body-centered awareness instead of this bubble head. And then by the time that the breath is then expelled, it's being expelled with, no thank you, I don't want that. And you can really release the things that you don't want. And you've been willing and able to take in the whole load of it, the mother load, and then just expel what you don't want, instead of just saying, no, nothing, please, nothing. I'd rather have nothing. Because how are you going to grow and expand? And that's sometimes what we do in relationship, is we don't have them. We have 1 or 2 month relationships, or we have 2 or 3 year relationships where we protect our heart and we don't allow ourselves to go very deep, and therefore it's extremely easy to just let that one go and then get another one. And we take ourselves in that relationship to the point of depth where we are comfortable, and when it goes too deep, we end it. Or we sabotage it, create the same situation again. And we allow it to be sabotaged once again. And we let our patterns dictate our relationships instead of taking the helm. Because the key reason why we're not happy in relationships and why we never find the right person is because we are not happy with who we are. and we always want to be a new version of ourselves, a new and better version, but you can have that with the same person in the same relationship. You can tap into a newer, better, deeper you, and if that person really loves you, they can leave the old one behind. There's nothing worse than constantly being reminded of your past failings, and that person in the relationship should only be mentioning these things if you are continuing to do them now. Once that has been eliminated from your behavioral pattern, there's no need. And in fact, once you stop doing that, it's very easy to be reminded of these things from your past without reaction, because you don't identify with it anymore. The big problem is when you are reminded of them and you know that you're still doing them. That's why it's so triggering. It's like, are you cheating on me again? How dare you? Of course I'm not. Maybe you're not, but in your mind you've got the same pattern, you've got the same instinct, and that's very confronting. Relationship is not easy. It's the hardest job in the universe. And they say no, mothering is, well, what is being a mother other than the ultimate relationship where you have to be completely there, completely present, completely willing to see whatever is reflected back at you without judgment. And it's a little baby, so you know what, he's not the problem, she's not the problem, it has to be me, right? Okay. And it's humbling beyond belief, and I have profound respect for mothers who can do this. And in the same vein, go back and look at your example of a relationship. Look at your parents, look what you were exposed to or not exposed to. Look at who were your primary caregivers. Were they there? Were they absent? Was it the television? Were they in your face all the time? Were they involving you in their play and in their dynamic? And just, where was Venus throughout all of this time? And how have you in your life, in the midst of whatever version of hell, because we are all living in hell, it's not a time to be deceived about that. The pastures may be green in some cases, but it's hellish. There is so much more, so many higher layers of human consciousness we could be in, and we are. And I think that's one of the best steps, is to overcome this idea that everything's fine, because it's not. And the way through that is humility and crying. And I'm really, really hungry for humans to be willing to go deeper in this way and not to run. I think it's such a beautiful and valuable thing that we can do. And if you would like to go deeper with me, I'm really here, ready, waiting, open arms and no judgment to be able to take these steps. And I'm particularly interested in working with couples in this way, because it's a mighty task and it's very worthwhile. So thank you so much for being here, and I love you so much.